Well, Larry, it's good to meet you in person, man. I've been looking up your work this week. Mickey sent me over all of your books, and then I found out, yeah, you're in Utah, one of my favorite states to visit. So, man, it's good to have you on the Books for Guys podcast this week.
Yeah, I'm glad to be on, man. Books for Guys pretty much describes what I write.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at your titles and your work, and I was like, man, this is perfect.
Yeah, I give you an idea. At one point in my career, I was the best-selling author in Baghdad and Bagram. That'll tell you a lot about my fan base.
Yeah, that's that's a wild thing to know. Like, hey, my books are selling a lot over there. No, that's cool, man. Well, Larry, like I said, it's good to talk with you, and it's an honor to spotlight you on the podcast and on the website, and uh, man, just trying to encourage reading amongst young guys and your books and what you write. I know I've got a lot of friends that read your style of books, and I know they're going to be excited to listen to this and then probably pick up your book and read them. You've got a
Yeah,
lot of books, and so, man,
one of the
how did you become, I don't know, interested in writing these stories?
I was just a normal dude, and I wanted to, like, tell the stories that I wanted to hear, and, I couldn't find them.
Yeah,
My first time I tried, I grew up reading, like, a ton. I grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere, country kid. I grew up on a dairy farm. I read a ton, library books growing up, and so I was always a reader, and I love fantasy and sci-fi and thrillers, and, when I was in college, I tried to write a thriller, and it wasn't good, it was terrible. Then I took about 10 years, and I was just a husband and a father and had a career and, did a bunch of stuff, and then I took another shot at writing, and I wrote Monster Hunter International, I independently published it, and it blew up huge. It was a
yeah,
big hit. And, so I've been doing this full time now for about the last, 13, 14 years, I think. I'm working on novel number 32, I think is 32 or 33 is what I'm at right now. So it's been
yeah.
hopping.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you, answer one of my questions was gonna be, did you grow up enjoying reading?
Oh, yeah.
Because I've got some friends who did, and they were very much into sci-fi, fantasy thrillers, especially like growing up in elementary, middle school, junior high. And then I've got other friends where, we didn't start reading until for enjoyment until probably post college. And now it's like
Yeah.
we're playing catch up as we understand like just how awesome books are.
Uh,
Yeah, it's like a whole new
well
world we've been exposed to over the last, 5, 10 years.
well, we were really poor, and it was back in those days, you had 3 TV channels, and 4 if you spoke Spanish, which we didn't.
And sometimes it didn't work.
So there wasn't much else to do at all. We just worked our butt off, but we had a library. Uh, when I was really young, I just started reading because I had nothing else to do. It was either that or, work my butt off, and like I said, we were in the middle of nowhere, so it was like 45 minutes to go to school, right? And so, I spent a lot of time on the bus reading books just because I was bored out of my mind. I spent hours on the bus. And so, I grew up as a reader. I read a lot of Louis L'Amour westerns because
Okay.
back in those days you could get the grocery stores would have the little Louis L'Amour novels, and I used to bug my mom into letting me buy those. My dad actually didn't read, and so he thought reading was nerdy and it was for
Yeah.
wimps, but he liked westerns and he loved western movies, so I could buy westerns. I was allowed to buy westerns, and so that was my gateway drug for reading. So
Dad
yeah, I
would
grew
say
I
yes
grew
to
up reading.
those.
Yeah, and no, I'm not gonna put any shade on the guys who didn't, because a lot of dudes just don't get the opportunity, or when they're young, they're forced to read stuff that's, like, not fun, and so they think reading's a chore. And I think a lot of kids, so one of the best compliments I get as a writer is when I hear from moms who say stuff like, "My son hates books. He hates to read. He loves your stuff."
Loves your
And I was
books.
like, "Yeah, okay, cool. I'm doing my job."
Yeah. Man, that's freaking awesome, and that's exactly our purpose and mission here at Books for Guys is essentially getting books that young guys are actually interested in reading into their hands so that they can, again, understand how awesome reading is, how much knowledge they can gain from it, how much joy they can gain from it. And if they can start reading something they actually enjoy, then hopefully that leads to another book and another book and another book and kind of get that curiosity train running. But you're exactly right,
Yeah.
man. I mean, I was probably the exact example of having to read books I wasn't really interested in. I didn't hate reading, but I didn't enjoy it until I was able to pick up books I liked. And then I was like, wow, like
Yeah.
this is awesome.
High school does it, like, exactly backwards for guys. Because I mean, hey, don't get me wrong, I like a lot of the classics. As an adult, I like to read the classics, but man, when I'm 14, 15 years old and you're trying to force me to read Moby Dick,
Just not
I
interested.
mean, don't get me wrong, I like Moby Dick now. I'm 50.
Yeah.
I can read Moby Dick no problem. When I was 14, 15 years old, I was like, I don't want to read 800 pages of like a guy's angry, you
Yeah.
know, or The Great Gatsby. I can go off on that one for days.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many kids that made hate reading.
Yeah.
And then we would. It's actually gotten worse because I have a bunch of teenagers now and grown up children, and when they went to high school, it was like they would read these books, these classics, and they would discuss them for 3 months,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
completely backwards. That's not how people read for fun at all.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and so they force the kids to read books they don't want to read, and then they talk about them and talk about them and talk about them until the kids just hate reading.
Yeah.
You know, that's just
Yeah.
completely backwards. And then we wonder why
Yeah.
grown-ups don't read. It's because well, we beat it out of them.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And yeah, these books weren't bad. They're actually interesting to us now. Yeah, reading for what you like and kind of encouraging that way is probably the better route to go. But we still haven't seemed to
Yeah.
figure that out apparently. So when you write, and obviously you're in the 30s on the books you've written. What's your process like? I mean, how long does it take you to come up with characters and a plot and a storyline and create this world? I guess like where do the ideas come from?
It's gonna vary how long it takes. I think my record for the shortest I've ever written a book was about 3 months, and the longest is about 8. My average is about 6 months for the whole process. Ideas are everywhere. So ideas are like the easy part. All day, like writers are always working. We don't really ever stop working because we're always thinking,
Mhm.
and we get paid to think, which is kind of cool. And I'll just be like driving along and I'll have an idea or I'll think of a character or a line of dialogue or something. It's like, whoa, that's cool. And I keep like a notebook. I make notes. Sometimes like if I'm in the middle of nowhere, I'll email myself on my phone
Yeah.
if I have a really good idea.
Yeah.
And I just jot this stuff down, and then eventually it just kind of congeals into a whole story. Then the actual process, I outline first. Most of my books, I'm an outliner. There are a few books I have one series that I just discovery write as it goes, but mostly I outline and then I come up with the detailed plot. It's about 7 pages, 6 pages or so, give or take, and then I just go. I just start writing, and about the hard part is the 6 months of typing, 5 or 6 months of typing, and then a couple months of editing. Yeah, it takes a while,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of work because you're sitting there and you're in your head and you're just thinking and writing and typing, and then you go back and you look at it and you're like, "Wow, this sucks, I suck," and then you gotta spiff it up. I've been doing this
Somebody's
long enough
paying me
though,
to do this?
I've gotten used to it, I guess. I've got a pretty good process, I've gotten pretty quick now. When I was starting out, I had to, edit more, but now I edit less just because I know what I'm doing, so it's not as screwed up on the first pass, which is nice because writing is fun, editing is work. And so I have like the best job ever, really. I have like a super cool job, and I can't believe I get paid for this.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, and you were able to transition to where it sounds like you were working a full-time job, kind of getting this going, and then now you've done enough to where this is your job, which is really cool. And you get to do what you love for a living.
Yeah, I'm kind of living the dream actually because I work from home. I set
Yeah.
my own schedule, but I am kind of workaholic. I'm like I said, I grew up on a dairy farm, and so I've still got that ethic, that work ethic as a writer. So I write about 2 books a year, give or take, is what I've done for the last 15 some odd years. But man, it's the best job ever, honestly, if you can get into it. The problem is getting into it is really hard because there's so much competition, and it's brutal out there for new writers trying to break in. It's like really
Yeah.
hard. But
Yeah.
once you're in it, it's cool. I get to just make stuff up and entertain people, and they love it, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So your first, like the first big one you were saying, Monster Hunter International, right? What do you think it was about that series that just blew up to where people were that kind of, obviously it seems like that was the one that took you to the next level. What was it about that series that you think caught on so?
Well, I was writing it back in 2007 is when I started working on it, and at the time, horror and, like, monster stuff had gotten taken over kinda, like, by romance, and that was, like, the Twilight era, you know what I mean? And,
Oh, it's
for
huge.
guys, it was just we wanted monster movies. We wanted explosions and adventures and good guys versus bad guys. And so I came along writing a story about basically a bunch of gun nut professional monster killers who treat it as a business, and they go in there and they just kick monster butt for money, for fun and
Yeah.
profit. And it just landed at the exact right time, and a bunch of people read it, and it blew up huge because they were like, "Oh yeah, I could like most dudes can see themselves working for Monster Hunter International. It's a company, and they could see themselves working there." And they can see their friends working there.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of resonated. And so I had thousands of people reading it and telling their friends about it.
Yeah.
And that blew up huge. And then I wrote more of those. And then I expanded into other series and other genres. And now I'm up to like seven. I think I'm at seven different IPs, different universes, fantasy, sci fi, progression fantasy, epic fantasy. I
Yeah.
do all sorts of weird stuff. And, but yeah, but it all started out with Monster Hunter just because dudes
Yeah.
were like, I want to blow up vampires.
Yeah.
You know? That
Yeah.
was that was the
That's
thing, it was
easy for guys to
we had a
like.
line in the book we had a line in the first book that the only time vampires sparkle is when they're on fire,
Yeah. Oh,
and it
yeah.
just it just kinda took off from there, and, uh, yeah, people loved it, and it just kinda hit because I so Monster Hunter, that series is very much big action adventure, monster killing fun. It's like X-Files meets The Expendables,
Yeah.
is kinda
Literally,
how
The
it worked out.
Expendables is what I was thinking about when you were talking about that time. I was like, probably like Expendables, like, we just want to see a bunch of badass dudes doing cool things.
Blowing stuff up and fighting evil, and and there's a such a market out there for that, but, like, I come from a business background, and I started trying to sell this book to regular Manhattan publishing houses, and they would tell me, "Oh, this is a really good book, but we just don't know if anybody would be into all this guns and monsters and violence," and I'm like, "My gosh, you guys are so disconnected from just regular world,"
Yeah.
and, there's a bunch of Manhattan socialite publishing people, and they didn't get it.
Yeah.
And so I sold it myself, and it did really good. And I got a publishing contract at Baen Books, and written a ton of stuff for them. And now I write also for Athon and also for Arc Press. So, and I write nonfiction too. Yeah, but I'm all over the place now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, man, it worked out. I mean, that's such an awesome story, and just, I mean, man, so obviously you said 1 or 2 books a year. So, like, do you wake up, like, what's your writing schedule? Do you wake up like your old normal job and you write from 8 to 5, or do you kinda like, do you kinda have that focus time daily that you try and sit down and knock some work out?
Yeah, I have a wife and kids, so I know some writers who do like these really weird schedules, like they write at night and stuff. Like, no, I mean, I got a family. I can't do crap like that. So I just keep normal working hours. I sleep in. 'Cause I'm not good at writing in the morning. Anything I write early in the morning is going to suck. So I usually get up. I do business stuff until about like lunchtime, and then after that, it's just writing. So first part of my day is answering emails and taking care of business and marketing and all that unfortunate stuff you have to do. And then the rest of the day I just write, and I do that every day of the week except for I've gotten to the point of the career now I can take weekends off, which is pretty rad. I didn't get to do
Nice.
that for the full first half of my career. And I just write normal hours if I'm in the zone, I'll keep working till late at night. Usually not though. I found that if I have to stay up really late, anything I write after like midnight sucks, and I'm going to throw it away the next day anyway. When I was younger, I used to do that right till like 2 o'clock in the morning thing. Now that's dumb. I don't do that anymore. But no, I got a family, so I keep normal hours because the kids come home from school.
Yep. Stuff to do.
There's always errands to run and all this stuff. So I just treat it like a normal job. Some writers get very much like they have to have a muse inspire them and all that stuff. That's bunk. I don't believe in that. I think you just got to treat it like a job. If any of us at our regular jobs were like, "Oh, I'm not inspired to work today," we get fired.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's cool. I always kind of ask a question, and it seems like you kind of understand the responsibility of it too. Like that you enjoy it, and it's the best job in the world to you, but you also have a responsibility to do your job and write the books and get them out there. And so it seems like, I always ask authors now, I'm like, do you write? Is it pure enjoyment, or is there a little bit of that responsibility to have to, that you focus on to get that book out there too? But it sounds like while you have the responsibility and you're regimented about it, it kind of lines up with your enjoyments, which makes it the perfect job. But I'm
Yeah,
always curious to ask that is like,
there's
do
some
you always enjoy it, or are there days where you feel like, oh, I got to do this because like it's my job?
yeah, it's gonna depend. Honestly, like the actual writing part, I almost never feel that way. Like I always like the writing part, the creative, like
The
sitting down and
editing
writing part.
part.
I usually enjoy that quite a bit. The parts where I struggle are when the book is done and then I have to edit it. Like I said, editing is work. And then like all the promotional stuff, like where I have to travel for book tour and I'll be on the road for weeks and like I'll be sleeping in hotels, going from town to town, flying every day to a different city. That part, I am happy to never do that again. Convention appearances, that kind of thing. It kicks your butt, right?
Yeah.
But the actual writing part, I almost never am like against the actual writing part. That part I enjoy a lot. I still love that. Now every now and then there'll be a day where I'm just like I just don't want to work. I think we all have that no matter what we do for a living. And those are days I just got it's like I don't believe in writer's block, but sometimes got to recognize I just want to go play video games, right?
Yeah. Take a break.
just I
Yeah.
just want to screw around today. I don't want to work today. But, it's like any other career, you recognize that, but, like, the actual work, the meat of being a writer, I love that stuff. If I didn't get paid for this, I would still probably write books for fun
Yeah.
as a hobby.
Yeah.
I wouldn't work 50, 60 hours a week doing it, believe me, that's nuts, but, I enjoy the writing part. The writing part is a hoot. Like, it's a blast, and I just get to make stuff up, but then, like, there's all the ancillary extra stuff. That part's work. That part's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't look forward to those days.
Yeah. Well, what's that like? Because I'm not in that space or world either. So, like, when you do have that book that gets dropped and it's massive and people are excited about it, want to read it, and you got to travel and market it. What's that like? Do you travel to like different bookstores in different states, different conventions? Like, what all do you have to go do to market your?
Yeah, it's just gonna depend on what the release is, but, like, and then I haven't done book tours much since, after COVID, like, so before COVID, it was, like, a much bigger thing that writers did. Now they don't do it as much, but I would go and I would either there's 2 kinds, it was the kind where I'd fly from city to city, usually over a period of about 2 weeks when the book first comes out, or I would do an epic road trip where I'd fly into one place, get a rental car, and then drive every day down America. I did a 3-week, 5,000-mile book tour where every single day I had an event. So for 3 weeks, drove 5,000 miles across the country, which is just bonkers. And I was a lot younger. I wouldn't want to do that now. And then I did a lot of conventions, and conventions are fun, and you meet a lot of really cool people. But for the writer, it's really weird because you got to be like totally switched on, like all day long
Yeah.
talking to people.
Yeah.
And you can't just like, chill out and hang out with people. Well, you
Yeah.
can, but it just kind of depends. But yeah, so you fly somewhere in America, you usually spend 3 or 4 days at an event, and then fly home, which all that stuff is necessary and good for like promoting your work, but also cuts into the time that you should be writing books. Because the most important thing is writing more books.
Yeah.
So
That's true. Yeah.
yeah,
It's probably like some
plus I hate
bittersweet.
flying.
Oh, well, if you hate flying too, yeah, that probably makes it even worse. But it's probably bittersweet
My gosh.
to where you get to like meet people, people are fans of your book, talk about it. There's always some part of that that's a little annoying, I'm sure, but also like kind of
No,
probably some cool people and places that you've been to.
yeah, when I'm complaining about it, it's mostly for, like, the travel part and the sleeping in the hotels part because the actual fans are awesome.
Yeah.
I love my fans, and so, like, getting to hang out with my fans and meet them and go to these things and have, like, book signings and then just shoot the bull and talk to people, that part's fun. Like, that
Yeah.
my fans are legit cool people, and so going across America and meeting thousands and thousands of them has just been a great experience, and I've met a lot of really wonderful people that way. So when I complain about book tour, I'm not complaining about the fans because that's like the
Yeah.
highlight of the day. I'm
Yeah.
complaining about the 8 hours of travel to get to that event to see 100 people. But no, it's fun. But by the end of those weeks, oh man, I am just like I always want to go home.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, that's cool, but it's probably really cool and, like, motivating to meet people who are, like, amped up about your work, and they wanna see more, and they're always every time you have a book come out, they're gonna
It
be the
is.
ones to pick it up and read it, and so that's probably when you have those days where you're like, you're probably like, "No, man, I'm doing something cool, like, people like what I do, I'm gonna give it my all and give it a I'm gonna create the next best story," you know?
It is because it's fun, and I'll never like share too much about this, but I always hear from people who've well they were going through a rough time in their life, and like it's not just me, but all authors have this experience where somebody will be going through a rough time and then they'll read our book and it will make a difference for them for whatever. Maybe it's like I've had people where they had family members pass away and they had just been unhappy and sad, and they read a book and it cheered them up. It was like the first time they laughed, in weeks. And that when you hear stuff like that, it's just awesome.
Yeah,
It's just really cool.
yeah,
And that we were able to just do something fun to entertain somebody, to like make their day a little better, to make make their life a little happier for a little while. And
yeah,
that's kind of awesome. A lot of writers get really stuck up and snooty, but the way I look at it, I'm just an entertainer. My job is to make people laugh and have fun, and and have exciting book. And you're going to read a book for 10 hours or whatever it may be, or listen to an audiobook for 20 hours. My job is just to make your life a little better that day.
yeah, yeah.
And I love it. That's awesome. And I love hearing from people who enjoy this stuff. So
Yeah. Man, that's so cool. That's
it's
so cool. Yeah. That's just I don't know, just that probably helps just waking up every day with a smile knowing that there's just, yeah, you're providing some enjoyment to somebody's day. You're helping someone get through a tough time. And man, it's just awesome. Do you personally so like you personally reading now, do you read the same type of books that you write, or do you read like nonfiction or different genres of books personally?
one of the worst things about being a writer is it kills reading for you, because what happens is my brain starts to edit. So if I'm reading other people's books, and I don't do it on purpose, like I'm reading a book, if it's a good book, my brain goes, "Oh, that's really clever. I see what you did there. That was really smart." Which kicks you out of the immersion. Or if there's anything like wrong with it, I start to nitpick it. And I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm trying to read just for fun. But my brain says, "Oh, if you would have changed this character to this character and had this person do this, it would have been stronger." And that sucks, 'cause I'm trying to read for fun, not work.
Yeah.
So honestly, most of my reading now is I'll do audiobooks,
Mm,
because my brain can't edit an audiobook. If there's something in an audiobook, like like it happened and then it's past and I can't focus on it. I wind up reading a lot when I do read, I wind up reading stuff that's in my genre a lot, because other authors are asking me to read their stuff for either feedback or a blurb or like promotional stuff. So my pile of books to be read, 'cause I know so many other authors. I mean, I know hundreds of other authors, and they're always giving me their books. So I have this stack here in my office. I mean, I whipped the camera in to show you, but the stack is it's like 500 books
yeah.
of just people trying to get me to read their stuff. And I just don't normally have the time.
Yeah.
But it is fun to read other people's stuff and get their takes and like give feedback and then like give blurbs. When I say blurb, you see the cover of the book and it says there's a quote from some other author
Yeah.
saying how good the book is.
Yeah.
That. And so most of the time when I read books now, it's to blurb somebody else,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is
I
which is
I was gonna
fun. And
ask,
I get to
like, if
read the
you
books before they come out too.
yeah, yeah, that's cool. And I was gonna ask, like, do you have a network of other authors that you collaborate with as far as, like, asking for an opinion or bouncing an idea off of? Or is there any do you have any close friends that you kinda talk to about certain ideas, or do you kind of do it all solo more often? But it sounds like obviously you're gonna meet a lot of authors, and as your work hits different levels and theirs too, like you're gonna have some sort of collaboration, but didn't know if you kind of bounce ideas of your stories off others as you write.
Not usually, unless I'm kind of stuck. Like if I have a problem with something and I'm kind of stuck, I'll talk to other writers. But usually I just kind of work now at this point in my career, I just kind of work through it myself. I've got a couple like good friends that are writers too. Like Steve Diamond is a horror novelist and good friend of mine. And we've written books together, and we did the Writer Dojo podcast together. We're the hosts of that. And so I would tell Steve ideas, like if I was stuck on something or kind of like, I don't know, should I do this or should I do this? And I'm trying to decide which direction to go. Like I'd bounce it off him and get his feedback. Um, just because I trust him, you know. But there's a bunch of other writers I know, but mostly they're friends. Now I do have a bunch of writers I've collaborated. I've written novels with like 7 other authors where it's been a collaborative novel. Mike Coopery, Sarah Hoyt, John Ringo, John Brown, Jason Cordova, Les Johnson. And I'm working on one right now. And these are all great writers, but usually I only talk to them about that one project
Gotcha.
that we're working on together.
Yeah.
And then actually collaborative stuff's a little harder than a regular book. Like a regular book, I make all the decisions and I just kind of go. If I'm collaborating with somebody, then we've got to like work it out,
Yeah. Take a
you
lot
know, we
more
got to like
time.
talk about it. It does, yeah. And then you bounce it back and forth until you're both happy with it. Whereas if I'm by myself, I just do it. And so collaboratives, people think a collaborative novel is easier because they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna do 50% of the work." No, it's actually not. You're basically both doing 100% of the work because 'cause you're both going over each other's stuff. So,
You're
yeah,
probably doing even
it's
more
a
work.
different challenge.
Yeah.
It's a group project,
Yeah, group project. Yeah, yeah, that's a good way to put that. That's a good way to put that.
and sometimes that can work out really good because, like, I've had some really great collaborative novels, like, the results have been fantastic, but it is more work to put it together with another person and, like,
Yeah.
have to share it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense, especially when you've got your own ideas and your own way that you wanna see something play out, but then you're kind of, like, having to, I don't know, not compromise, but maybe someone else sees something a little bit different, so you guys are coming together trying to make that idea stick to where you both like it and think it works, so I could see where that's a challenge, not a bad challenge, but certainly different than if you're just solo writing your book and your story.
Yeah, so if you're gonna collaborative write a novel with somebody, make sure you like them.
Yeah, that's a good yeah. Story might not be not they might not complete if you don't like who you're working with on the story. I could definitely
That's
see
true.
that. But, well, Larry, I got
That
one
is
more
true.
question for you. And I ask everybody this, and you know, you've obviously said you've been a reader your whole life, but you know, if someone asks you, "Hey, Larry, I don't know, I'm looking for another book to read," and you can say your own, but has there been a book that's had an impact on you personally or professionally that you've really enjoyed and like to recommend to others?
Oh my gosh, that's a hard one. There's so many.
I mean, you've probably read hundreds, maybe thousands, so
Thousands. That's a hard one because I don't really have necessarily a favorite book. And like I say, the book that influenced me the most to be a writer is not necessarily even it was a good book. It's just that I thought I could do better.
yeah. Interesting, yeah.
So I don't really have one in particular. I couldn't narrow it down to just one. Yeah, I
Any
couldn't
other
narrow it down to just
authors
one.
any other authors that you recommend as good book series or good
Oh
stories?
my gosh. Oh yeah, okay. So like I was just talking about like Steve Diamond, great author, not very well known, writes horror, but like fantastic author. Like I was talking about the collaborators I was writing with Les Johnson, he's a science fiction writer. Brilliant dude. Like and he worked for NASA. He's literal rocket science, so like big brain sci-fi. And then Jason Cordova is another guy I've written novels with. Jason Cordova is a wonderful dude, Navy guy, fantastic author. I've collaborated with him. And he writes just like really good action adventure stuff. I know so many writers. I could like kind of this is kind of one of those I could go off for hours of like
Yeah,
writers out there that are just great writers that people don't really uh know that well.
yeah,
There's just tons of them. I'm a
yeah.
big Jim Butcher fan. Jim's a friend of mine, but Jim Butcher like Books for Guys. Jim Butcher's fantastic.
Cool.
I think people should check him out. I just read a book by Travis Cochran called Red State Mars. It's coming out soon. Kind of this big family saga Martian colony story. Fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah, I could go off on this. I could tell you hundreds of good ones, but as far as narrowing it down to just one, that'd probably be impossible.
Yeah. No, that's okay. I'm always curious to know, like, as a writer, what other books you enjoy, what other authors you enjoy following, or their books that you look forward to that authors are coming out with. And just again, this kind of the whole purpose of Books for Guys is just providing as many options as possible, as we all have different
Yeah.
interests. And I'm working
So,
on getting all your books on the website so that people can go purchase them and read them. Honestly,
sweet.
I didn't know you had as many as you did. I started looking, I was like, "Larry, I got a lot to add here."
Well, man, I've done a lot of different series. I say starting out like biggest like I said, I mentioned Louis L'Amour, classic stuff. But I was a big Robert E. Howard fan. If you want to go old school, like Conan the Barbarian, Solomon Kane, fantastic. And a lot of people don't read him nowadays, but oh my gosh, it's fantastic. Another one for the Books for Guys, Howard Andrew Jones. Howard Andrew Jones does sword and sorcery. He passed away sadly a year ago. Wonderful human being, passed away suddenly. Great writer. Oh my gosh! Like if for your listeners, check Howard Andrew Jones out. The dude was awesome and taken too soon because man, I wanted to see what I mean. He could have did so many great books. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I could tell you. I could tell you if you ever need suggestions, I got a lot of them.
Cool, cool. Yeah, no, this is man, this is great. Again, like it's so cool talking with different authors who write different things are involved with different groups within the space, and just the passion behind it. It's exciting for me to talk with individuals like yourself, because now like your books are one I'm adding to my list to try and read and recommend. And I know like I have several friends I know are gonna, if they haven't already read your books, I'd be shocked honestly if they haven't. But if they haven't and they hear this, they're gonna be like, "Dude, that was awesome. I just ordered Larry's book." So yeah, man, this is just so cool. But no, Larry, man, thank you so much for taking the time to do the Books for Guys podcast. As again, I think a lot of guys are going to be interested in your books if they haven't read some of them already. Like I said, man, I'm trying to get all your books on the Books for Guys website so they can be found. And if anyone wants to purchase them, they can. But man, can't wait to follow you now and just all your. I'm gonna have to read I guess 2 of your books a year and more to kind of catch up and then get to where you're at probably in the next 4 or 5 years. But I'll
Well,
definitely be
they
trying my
read
best to
faster
do
than
that.
it's faster to read them than write them. So that's
Yeah,
one
yeah,
nice thing.
that's a good thing. But no, Larry, appreciate it, man, and can't wait to read all of your books and just man, keep doing what you're doing because it's awesome.
Oh, thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, man.